Renato, the house is alive and magical. What were the rules that helped to guide the house's magic? What are some examples of the house's magic?
So, what are the examples of the rules that will make the house magic? And so, when we first jumped on the film, the directors talked to us about this house that was, that would that's almost like a family pet that will be caring for you, that will be looking after you, and will be always there for you whenever you need it. So, as an animation team, we normally animate characters, and characters are normally people or or a anthropomorphic character like the characters on Zootopia. So animating a house, it was very different than the things we normally do. So uh, we tried to figure out like, hey, how does that work? If the house is sad, how do we portray that? If the house is saying hello to somebody, how does that work? uh, the best thing we did at the beginning was just establish some ground rules for the house. The directors didn't want the house to be just like a magical, like a house that had that anything in it would move by its own. So it had a few rules in place to where the things that the house could use to emote were things that were attached to it, like tiles or sconces. But if the house needed to move a chair, for instance, the chair couldn't just move by itself. The house needed to pick up tiles or the floorboards underneath it and kind of get the chair to kind of move around. So that was the basics of the rules of how we moved the house. So, and some of the acting choices on it, that was the interesting part of it, where when the house was interacting with Mirabel, he had its own personality, and he acted a certain way. He was always there if Mirabel needed something. So, and creating that relationship between the two of them, thinking of the house as as something that Mirabel could relate to, was really important to us. It really drives a lot of the story all the way through the end, and we needed that to be the audience to be very emotionally connected to the house, as not just as a building, but as a character in the film. So that was something that ourselves and our effects team put a lot of effort into it.
Maribel is a complex character who struggles to fit in. Describe how animators helped to bring her to life in a way that showcased her awkward, quirky personality. And if you can also touch on how the animation style for Mirabel compare with that of her sisters, Isabella and Luisa, and then how did the voice of Stephanie Beatrice inform the character?
So Mirabel and her animation style was one of the trickiest things to discover throughout this whole process of this film. And early on, we had a conversation with the directors about who is Mirabel. And they described a girl who was unlike any other Disney character that we had done before. But also she is a part of her family, but she is not like any other member in her family. So they were emphasizing that you couldn't take any animation from another Disney character or from Isabella or from Luisa, from her sisters, and have it work on Mirabel. So Mirabel was unique, and she was very capable and yet imperfect. And so we, early on in the process, we started doing animation tests, as we always do, to help discover what are these characters like, how are they going to move. And with Mirabel, we were really honestly struggling. We did a lot of animation tests, and we were showing the directors, and they're like, it's not quite right. They were great at sort of guiding us into this brand new territory that we hadn't been before. And some of the pitfalls is in making Mirabel move imperfectly, she could come off as being just klutzy or just stumbling over everything all the time. And that wasn't who she was. And with her being capable, you didn't want her to come off as being almost like a superhero. That was a little bit more of Luisa's territory. So you had to find that right balance. And what it ended up being was, with Mirabel, there's a little bit of a sense of improvisation into everything that she is doing. So she is kind of making it up as she goes. And the other thing that we discovered was that she is different, and her demeanor and her physical performance is different depending on who she is with and depending on the relationship she has with those people. So when you see her in the town, she is full on putting on a show, and she is trying to make everybody believe that she fits in with her family, and she feels like she fits in with her family, and that she feels just as awesome as the rest of them. And when she is with her sisters, you will see a different dynamic between her and Luisa and her and Isabella. Even with her cousin Antonio, who is almost like her best friend, because they still share the same room, because Mirabel never got a gift, so she was never promoted out of that nursery. So you see her, confiding in Antonio, or asking Luisa for support and help, and then you see this kind of sister rivalry with her perfect sister Isabella. There's a little bit of resentment there. And then with her relationship with Abuela, you see Mirabel's posture change. She gets much quieter and insecure because, I think Abuela is the ultimate judge in her mind. And then when Mirabel is by herself, you really see kind of the vulnerability and the struggle that she has with kind of putting on this happy face every day and feeling like she's less than in this extraordinary family. But you also see her determination and perseverance to figure out why she wasn't bestowed a similar gift as the rest of her family.